All right, so today we're going to work on putting flowers around in the pots. So we have here titanium white, cadmium red medium, cadmium red light, sap green, cadmium yellow light, and Naples yellow. All right, so I'm going to start with the sap green. And to change a bit, make my sap green a little bit more earthy, I'm going to take a little bit of cadmium red light, put it in, tiny bit, because if you put too much, then you'll end up with a an olive color. You don't want to go too light at first, the first layer. Just dark enough for a good value, so it's dark value. So we can add highlights after. So I'm going to start with the one up here, and I'm using use any brush you like, but I'm using a bright flat, and I'm just gonna you're gonna hardly see that one here because it's not highlighted and yet, but it's a different green than the one underneath. This one is more yellow green, and the one underneath has more blue in it. It's more earthy, the one underneath. The corner of my brush, I'm just putting a bit of greens. Okay, now the one underneath. I'm dabbing with the corner of my brush. Okay. It helps that we have underneath a good layer of burnt umber. Okay, I'm gonna let this green dry, and then we will come back and we will add the flowers. Let's put some in here, some greens in here. on the side. Okay. Before we do the left-hand side. So we're working on the right-hand side. I'm just gonna let it dry. And then we'll come back and add the flowers on. All right, so now we're going to start putting some flowers. I have cadmium red medium. I'm going to start with cadmium red medium. I am going to use white. So we don't need a dark color at first. So I'm going to do kind of a medium tone. It's going to dry darker. And I'm going to use a tiny bit of the Naples yellow in there with the corner of my brush. I'm using a flat brush that is smaller than the one I used for the green. The reason I'm putting Naples yellow in this pink is just to break that strong pink, break the color a bit and make it a little bit more on the not yellowy side, but not as lollipop pink, because that's what it reminds me of. Cadmium red medium and white always reminds me of lollipop. Okay, now let's start. I'm going to start with the one on top. I am using a smaller brush because there's more control, and I am using the corner of my brush the same way. I'm going to start from here. What I'm trying to make sure I'm doing right now is it's the grouping where I'm putting the flowers first, and also the size. So I don't want everything to look exactly the same size, and the grouping should be distributed in a way that's nice, creates a nice movement. This is a side one. I'm going to put a little one here. There. That's good. Okay. Let's go down here. Some small ones, 3 of them, right here. Bigger ones on the side. So it goes with the movement of the grouping of the bouquet or whatever. So these are pointing right to the right, and these are pointing to the left. I'm going to put a couple here hanging.
I'm sorry, can I ask you what those colors were again? It was cadmium red medium?
Cadmium red medium, white, and a tiny bit of Naples yellow.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to use the same combination of pink for now on the one at the bottom here, and then I'll switch to a different. This is slightly lighter, so I added a little bit more white here, just a little bit more white to the same combination right there, because I'm going to highlight these more when we start highlighting. So I have a cluster of flowers in here. All right, this is good. Let's put one down here. All right. Okay, now I'm going to try to use a round brush and take more white, put it in, highlight the red I've been using with a bit more white. So really light pink and a little bit of cadmium or Naples yellow. So cadmium, red medium, white, Naples yellow. And I'm going to come here, try to highlight the sides. I'm dabbing with the round brush, dabbing parts, not the whole thing, side. Light is coming from the left. You want to see some of the darks. You don't want to completely cover them because then you will lose depth. Everything will look flat, especially with highlights. I'm going to zoom in. Okay. Now let's do the ones underneath. Same. And I'm going to take a little bit more of the Naples yellow, just to change the color a bit. All right, good. Okay, let's do that. Now I'm darkening a little bit the value, the color, just for this one, these ones here. Okay. At this point, I can take some green, yellow, more yellow than before. Let's take a little bit of red. And highlight this one too. You can see the highlights are mostly, the strong highlights of the green are mostly from the left. Now I'm going to add more, some of kind of more green in that, and highlight this part. So the value here is darker than the one here. The one on the right is slightly darker than the one on the left. I'm gonna add some in here, some green, maybe from a pot that we can't see, and some green here, because we don't want to put flowers on all of them. We're just gonna highlight, put some green in certain areas. Let's take a little bit more highlight. Okay. Now in here, we can highlight it a bit. We don't need to, but okay. Good. All right. Now I'm going to pause. Okay. Now let's work on the flowers in this area here. So I'm using now cadmium, red medium, and white. I'm going to take a little bit of cadmium red light, put it in. There. I really like this combination of pink, cadmium red medium and cadmium red light with white. It's actually my favorite. So now I'm going to start with this one here. I'm going to make it kind of dense with flowers. I'm going to wait for it to dry and then highlight. But when I'm doing this, I'm watching the shape I'm creating. So you don't want a perfect half a circle in there. Okay, this is good. All right, let's keep going. A cluster of beautiful pink roses in here. And let's put one big one over here on this side. Then I'm going to start pushing or putting a couple here. So this is a cluster right there. And this is kind of dispersed, kind of couple. there. Oh, jeez. All right. All right, this is good. I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to come to the one next to it. I'm going to add more white. Same combination of color, but more white. I changed to a round brush. I think I have more control over the shape with round brush. Let's take a little bit of a slightly darker color. Slightly. And just for variation, so we don't use the same colors everywhere. I'm going to make a cluster right here. Trying not to have too many equal empty spaces in between. So when I do this, that will allow me to put more. You see, now I'm not concerned with values, light and dark, and shadows. I am actually, what I'm doing is trying to create a nice composition of flowers, a cluster of flowers. All right, let's put just maybe a couple little one here. Smaller one right there. Okay. Now that it's kind of done, this part, I am going to start adding highlights. So I'm going to take white, mix it with my pink, and start from this part. Highlight. That's a strong highlight, too much. Yeah, that's better. It's a soft highlight. All right, let's move on to this. This one has a little bit more white in there. Okay, and not all of them. Some of them have more white. Now I'm darkening a bit, so I'm taking more red into the white, and I'm going to highlight with that and adjust my values. I'm going to highlight the other ones. All right. I'll let it dry, and then I'll adjust the highlights once it's dry. Meanwhile, I'm going to soften and highlight the green. The light green in between the roses, the pink, makes the difference between the dark and light, between the rose that's highlighted and pink and the dark green in there, look much better when you highlight the green. I highlight it everywhere though, because then again I'm going to lose the depth. So I'm going to take a little bit of dark green and darken some areas inside. Okay, let's highlight the one next to it. I'm taking a bit more of the red, mixing it with white, and I'm gonna come in here and then I'm gonna kind of darken some areas with the darker value of that red. just because I want to create 2 levels or 3 levels of values. Dark, medium, and light. Yeah, that's better. Okay, let's do some here as well. Okay. So I highlighted the inside of this flower, or actually not highlighted, I'm sorry, I darkened. So I have a highlight and then I darken the inside, and that makes it look like it has a center. A little bit more of the lighter pink in here, because acrylic dries darker, so it just gives it a bit of a nice 3D look. All right, let's see here. I'm seeing a lot of dark green in between, too many spots of green. So I'm gonna kind of mix some of these, make them into a larger cluster. Sometimes too much of the dark in between is too harsh. Okay. Good. Okay. I'm going to do the same with the one at the bottom. Mix 2 colors together, 2 of the reds, the medium and the light. Put a bit of white in there, not too much on this one. This one has a bit more of darker pinks. Again, now what I'm trying to do is shape. It's a cluster of flowers in here. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at this shape going straight here. I'm gonna push these 2 up because I had a line in there, right there. So what I'm going to do now is make this cluster bigger, higher. This one is medium and this one down. This one is in mid between both, right here. This one is, these 2 are higher. Down again. In between there's a gap. right there. And then it goes down again. So the first thing I do is I make sure I have a good composition, because it's easy to get carried away looking at detail. You don't want to look at detail. You want to look at composition first. What kind of movement you're creating, what kind of shape you're creating in here. And then once the shape is right, and this is what you want, then you move on to highlights. All right, I'm going to do the one next to it, but this one is going to be lighter. So I'm going to put more white in there, not too light. You know, you don't want to start with very light, because then you don't have room to highlight. Then everything is flat. I'm going to be, again, doing the same thing. I want to make sure that I have a nice shape, composition, cluster of flowers in here. That's the first thing I'm going to make sure I have. Roses and flowers are delicate. So, and pink is delicate too. So what we want to do and make sure that there's not a lot of harsh colors in between. Okay, so all right, now again, I have to make sure that I am not creating a perfect half circle in there. So now I'm going to take one up here, and that will break the circle. Even like that will break the circle. Down. Again, bigger. Cluster. Nice cluster of flowers in here. Okay, so this is one line, straight line, see? Right there. We don't want that. I'm going to push one of them out and break that line. So I'm constantly watching the shape I'm creating when I'm doing this, especially when you start highlighting. All right, this is a good, let's push this one up so it's not on the same level as this one here. Remember, we are not painting flowers close up. We're painting flowers from far. So mostly what you see is shape more than detail. All right, now this is kind of dry, so I can start highlighting. I'm going to take the same dark or darker red, add white to it. And see the value, if it's light enough. Yeah, I think it is. I'll wait for it to dry. This one here, I don't want to make it too light. Again, please don't look at the shape. We're not creating a shape. We're creating, like, we're not doing a detailed. It's not. There's no detail in here. There's just shape. Okay, this is good. Now, you take darker reds, gonna go in certain areas, just dark red, and add the dark red in between, not everywhere, just to give depth, create depth. Okay, I'll come back to this once it's dry because I can assess my values. And now I'm going to highlight the one on the right. If I want my red, if I want darker red, I'm going to take cadmium red medium and I'm going to put sap green in it. More cadmium red medium, or even cadmium red light, and put some sap green in it, a little bit of sap green, and then you will have very nice dark red. I'm going to create a little bit of an inside of a center, kind of, in some of them. All right, it's good. All right, I'm going to take the same dark red I did here. I made this dark red with cadmium red medium and sap green, and I'm going to put some here. I don't want to highlight this one. It's going to stay dark. It's on the edge of the canvas. I don't want it to show much. So now I can highlight the greens. I just noticed that this pot needs to be highlighted. So I am taking a tiny bit of burnt sienna, round brush, Naples yellow, a little bit of cadmium yellow, and I'm gonna highlight this one here. And I forgot about it. There. Let's keep the bottom part dark. All right. This is good. All right, I'm going to stop, although we do have 15 minutes left, but I'm going to pause. Okay, so this part is done for this week. Next week we'll do the left side.